Welcome to the October Monthly Committee of the Whole Board meeting, and please excuse us for being a few minutes late today. We appreciate your patience. And we will now call this meeting to order, and I'll turn it over to the clerk for roll call. Member Banks.
Here.
Chair Durek-Eater. Here. Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Here.
Member Lofold.
Here.
I am Member Mike Sull, and I'm here. Member Sadowski.
Here.
Member Williams. Superintendent Magus.
Present.
Assistant Superintendent Bonds.
Here.
Executive Assistant Brown. Roll call is complete. Great, and we'll now turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Bonds for the remainder of the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. I would also like to pull a quick audible by introducing someone new to the district and our team. Is that okay? I would like to bring to the table, and when you come, sir, please turn on the mic, Mr. Nathan Chapman. He is our Director of Community Education, and he joined us probably a little bit over almost a month at this point in time. So just want to welcome him to the district. He can introduce himself and tell us a little bit about yourself. So welcome.
Thank you. So I'm actually in week 5. It's been 5 weeks already. Come to the district with 20 plus years of community ed experience, overseeing tons of different programs, specifically really a lot of youth programming, which I think is kind of the direction we really want to go, is in increasing our youth programming. So my wife and I have 5 kiddos at home, do foster care. So our youngest 2 are still in foster care, but moving towards permanency. So I've got an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 14-month-old, and a 10-week-old. So the oldest 4 are girls and the little one's a boy. So that's kind of the quick version of me.
Welcome.
Yay, we welcome you to our district, and we're so excited to see all the service that you do to our community members and to our district. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Next up, I would like to bring up to the table our Director of Elementary Schools, Brenda Sparks. She has several teachers with her and other leaders, so I'll let Brenda do the introductions. Director Sparks.
And I'm bringing the principals up with me, so Principal Lisa Nicholson and then Eve Hessler, the principal of Lowell. They're going to be sitting up here with me. There's a mic over there for you. And yes, so we have several guests here, and I am going to let them introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. My name is Brianda Camargo, and I am a 2nd and 3rd grade teacher in the Spanish immersion program.
I'm Charlie Alvarez. I'm a 4th grade teacher at Myers-Wilkins Spanish immersion.
Gabriela Tais, coordinator for the program and interventionist for both schools.
I'm Megan Bennett. I teach 2nd grade at Myers-Wilkins, also in the NVSI program.
Hi, I am Glenda Latour. I do 3rd grade also at Myers-Wilkins Immersion.
I'm Alessandro Berg. I teach 5th grade at Myers-Wilkins in the NVSI program.
Okay, thank you so much, and I thank them for coming. This just shows their level of dedication to the programming. And on a side note, all of them, when we did the adjustment to moving some of the sections from Lowell to Myers-Wilkins, they volunteered to go to Myers-Wilkins. And so they are on this journey with us, and I just have appreciated their advocacy and everything that goes with the move. So anyway, and getting to know them better. So anyway, I appreciate you guys being here. All right, so we'll start the presentation. It is an update of like our current reality of where we are with the Myers-Wilkins Spanish immersion program. I did include a little bit about Lowell because it impacts Lowell, but really this is specifically about Myers-Wilkins. We'll go through all of the information, and then maybe we can ask questions at the end. There's a lot of information in here, so I might answer it as we go. If I don't, then please feel free to ask me. And then we have lots of experts in here. I don't have all the answers, they do, and these two. Okay. So last year we presented in a few different ways, numerous ways, goals for relocating 6 Spanish immersion classrooms from Lowell to Myers. We cited more opportunities to expand direct access to Spanish immersion program for diverse students within the Myers-Wilkins attendance area, ease overcrowding for Lowell. Since I got here, we've been talking about the overcrowding at Lowell, and we had to do something. And so this was the solution that we ended up on. And then strengthening school integration. We know that we were identified, Myers-Wilkins was, as racially identifiable school by the state of Minnesota. With that came, as you're super familiar with, the A&I plan. There are goals specific for Myers. One of them is making progress towards integration. And so this was a step where we could make some progress towards that goal. So with those 3 things in mind, increased access, more Myers-Wilkins students are now attending the program in their neighborhood school. When I did an analysis of all the enrollment last year, 28.2% of in-district transfers were from Myers-Wilkins. So Myers-Wilkins students were leaving that attendance area. They were going up to Lowell and attending the Spanish immersion, which is the highest percentage, by the way, of any school, of any transfer. This year, just as a comparison, 44% of our incoming kinders at Myers are from the Myers community. So it's a higher percentage in that kindergarten class than we usually have from the Myers attendance area. Now, is it because of the relocation? I do not know. I haven't surveyed them, but that's just quite a difference. So I thought that might be something for you guys to know. Relieved overcrowding. So Lowell, we decreased their enrollment by 149 students. And I pulled this October 2nd is when I got the numbers from EduClimber. And then, of course, Myers gained 149 students. And then Lowell right now has 485 students, which is more on par with Congdon and Homecroft. I think they're all within 20 students now of each other. And then Myers is around the same with 462. I like to say we balanced enrollment with this move, which we did. Now, many of our schools are 450 to 475-ish in there somewhere. And then Eve could speak to the less crowding and the less chaos in the hallways of Lowell. I think the staff over there has felt a lot of relief of that overcrowding, and maybe a little later she might share if you ask some questions on that. Improved integration, so the changes resulted in significant progress toward those integration goals. Free and reduced status from 86.5% last year to 56.9%. That's a significant rebalance of that student population. And then percentage of non-white students decreasing from 65.8 to 43.4. That's a significant rebalance. So we were hoping to do that, and with that integration of 150 kids, we were able to change the demographics of the whole school. The next slide shows more of those changes. Special education reduction, 41.8% down to 29.4%. American Indian, Black students, 2 or more. So across the board, we see a very different makeup of student population now in Myers-Wilkins. Hispanic actually increased, but that makes sense because of the Spanish immersion. I believe we have, what? Oh, that's not why, she says. Well, maybe Lisa can tell you why. But anyway, there's a little increase there. So with the overcrowding, we went through an extensive analysis last year through the planning process to look at where did all those kids transfer from in between our schools. Where were they? Where did they come from? Who was catching the bus hubs? Like we went really down into the details. And then we projected changes in enrollment based off all that analysis. Now, is everything going to go as perfectly as you project it? Well, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. In this case, when I look at the information for Myers on the left-hand side, we projected last January 25, 21, 22, 25, 25, 22, based off who was sitting in the seats last year, which schools they were coming from, and also attrition rates. Because usually we lose students as they age through Spanish immersion. That's just a thing. Families opt out of it at a certain point. So there's always a percentage of attrition, which I figured that in. And you'll see that the actual numbers, we did get 25 kinders, 26 first grades, 23, 28, 28, 17. So our actual really closely aligns with what we projected, so that's good. We had some families make decisions for themselves, like, we did not see the attrition. We didn't know that. I made assumptions based off historicals, but like, we didn't lose as many families as we thought. And then some families moved. They moved from, would have gone to Lowell, now they went to Myers-Wilkins Spanish, so we had some of that too. So it changed the numbers a little bit, but they're pretty close. Same with Lowell. You'll see the projected versus actual. And it's lower, but not too much. So I was pretty happy to see that that was pretty closely aligned. I added this slide so you don't have this piece. I got a really good question, and I was like, I don't know, so I'm going to check that out. So I did check it out, and I put this information in here, and we'll get it to you so you'll have it. Last year, Lowell Spanish Immersion, you can see their class sizes, which sections they had, and then the total amount of kids in each of those grade levels. If you look over on the right, I disaggregated that by Myers and Lowell, but then you can see the total kinders we have this year are 59. Last year we had 60. Total first grade, we have 65 this year. Last year we had 53. Total second grade this year, 49. Last year we had 59. 56, 61, 45, 50, and 40. So we didn't really lose a lot by splitting that program. They're pretty much, it's the same numbers, they're just reconfigured because, of course, they're not the same kids. Kindergarten moves to first, first moves to second, so there's that movement. But anyway, when I got the question and then I really looked at this data, I was like, oh, that's worth looking at, so I added it in here. Last year, we had 329 students in the program. This year, we have 327. They're just configured differently. We had 15 sections last year. We still have 15 sections this year. So anyway, a lot of sameness there.
And I would like to add, I believe that's just a strength to the program itself, the strength to our teachers who deliver the instructions, that there were families who said, you know what, because teacher X, Y, or Z was going to be at Myers-Wilkins, they elected to go to Myers-Wilkins. And like Brenda said, we thought, Director Sparks says, we thought that some families would either stay at Lowell, but we had families who elected to move from Lowell to Spanish, the Spanish program at Myers-Wilkins. So I really believe, as Director Sparks is indicating, that the targets were hit. It's been a successful strategy for integrating the schools and relieving the overcrowding that existed at Lowell, I have received feedback that they feel the difference. And Myers-Wilkins also feels different as well in terms of the student composition and just the overall environment. And so I want to say kudos to the principals, the teachers especially, and Director Sparks for the execution of this movement.
Okay. Now we're just getting into some things that, this is more the update piece where we gave you a bunch of information last spring, but like, how did this play out? And then some of this probably Principal Nicholson might have more information, or maybe Ms. Hessler, I don't know. So we'll see as we go through. So all 6 Spanish immersion class, they relocated into classrooms. I know there was a lot of, there, just quite frankly, and we all know this, there was some controversy on the placement of the classrooms. Every classroom that we placed from Lowell to Myers-Wilkins was a fully functioning classroom that had kids in it for years already. We did have to go back and do some reconfigurations, add some walls, some offices, but none of those spaces were the Spanish immersion classroom spaces, except maybe the 5th grade. I think, no, anyway, no. So we had programming in those 6 classrooms that needed a space. So then we had to add a couple walls, and you'll see that the second bullet, the music room downstairs on the 1st floor, we turned that into a kindergarten classroom. It had the best space, the square footage for a kindergarten classroom. Brian Brown from Facilities did an excellent job helping out, and he was very flexibly minded for us. He added a bathroom to that music room in the closet, because a kindergarten classroom usually has a bathroom. And so we did that, and it actually turned out great. It's actually a beautiful kindergarten classroom, so she's very happy. 2 intervention rooms, classrooms were on the 2nd floor. They each took a full classroom that had a sink and everything. We know sinks are great in primary grades, so we took those and turned it into 1st grade Spanish, 2nd grade Spanish, and they're in close proximity to those grade levels. We had to move the intervention rooms to, they had a really oversized classroom where somewhere down the line, what? It was an old computer lab. Oh, it was an old computer lab. So we added a wall in there, and now we have a math lab, intervention lab, and we have a reading intervention lab, so that turned out great. And then if you go in the library now, we had to add a couple spaces in the library, but they have a really big library, so we took up some square footage there, but it actually turned out okay. And then, up on the 3rd floor, there was a very large classroom. I think it was 2 classrooms at one point, and they must have taken a wall out at some point. Yeah, it had 2 doors. So we added a wall in there, and that worked out too. So we got everyone in and got them a sufficient space this school year. Next school year, we have actually 3rd grade on the 2nd floor. All the 3rd grade is up on the 3rd floor, so we're hoping to change to get 3rd grade near their peers. That was a goal we had, and we did not reach that with the 3rd grade, so next year we're going to work on that. And we've already started looking at changing some classrooms around, so that'll be good. Next, you want to talk about this? It's unique at Myers-Wilkins that we have the Duluth Community Schools Collaborative there. That's the only elementary where we have this additional supplemental programming through a grant. One of the strategies under that grant is student and family engagement. So Caitlin, who is lovely, and she is the collaborative's staff member on site at Myers, she runs a monthly site leadership meeting. All parents are invited. And so I know that some of the Spanish immersion families have come to that meeting, and all of them are can come. That's open to all Myers-Wilkins families. And really, it's a collaborative leadership and that continuous improvement model of what and how we engage families in the community in the Myers-Wilkins area. So it's actually a very positive space. And then the PTO, you might have an update on that, but they didn't have a PTO at Myers-Wilkins. and now they are starting one. So in the end, maybe Lisa can share where they are in that process. And I know that's kind of a partnership between the Community Schools Collaborative and the PTO getting started, so that's kind of exciting. The next slide is the teachers. The teachers had asked from the very beginning to make sure that there was a connection between the two sites. This is one Spanish immersion program located in two different sites. And so they wanted to make sure there was continuity and collaboration. So we do have joint meetings set up. We have PLCs. I think you're all familiar with those professional learning communities. We set up a schedule where there are certain PLCs that are dedicated to the Spanish immersion teachers getting together. And then there are some PLCs where they will be with their peers at their schools, all third grade, English and Spanish immersion. So we set up a schedule for that. And then on professional development days, we have several of those, ensuring that the Spanish immersion grade level teachers get time where they can work with their partner from the other school for continuity in the programming. And then this year, we're doing something different with developing the curricular resource documents. Dale's doing an excellent job on that. And we are bringing together the grade level Spanish immersion teachers to come in for a day and work on that with their grade level peers. So Spanish immersion third grade at Lowell will come and work with Spanish immersion third grade from Myers-Wilkins for a full day at the district office or wherever they want to. But I think they're mostly meeting here. So that's all, I think, making sure that there's that continuity and there's consistency across the programming has been important to the teachers, so we wanted to make sure they had that built in. We also had a lot of concern about the kids having connection. And I will say, when I say that, I mean the Spanish immersion and English programs and their peers connecting, and then also Spanish immersion to Spanish immersion programming connecting. So there's a few different ways there. With Myers-Wilkins specifically, they worked very hard during our specialist time, music, art, PE, media. They took all 4 sections of the grade levels, so all 4 kinder, all 4 first. Oh, well, anyway, she's correcting me as I'm going. Not kinder, but first through 5th, and mixing them all up. So all the kids are mixed up for their specialist. So Spanish immersion and English, they're all side by side, and they do them by red, blue, green, and yellow groups instead of each class. So I think that's been favorably received by most. Maybe not all, but by most. And so, and recess and lunch, the same thing. Grade level peers go to recess and lunch together, so they not only see each other in specialists, they see each other at lunch, and they see each other at recess. So that's 45, that's 90 minutes a day where they're all together. We had a meeting with the Spanish immersion teachers, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. One of their requests was to make sure that there's a connection between the two schools. So Assistant Superintendent Bonds said that he would fund 1 field trip per grade level that they could combine like third grade Spanish immersion and go on a field trip together. So that they'll plan that, and I think that's a really positive thing. So next slide there. Oh, is that it?
That is it.
Oh, wow, look at that.
And I know there are lots of questions.
I was
and
ready to
so,
go on.
Board, I would like to ask if we want to give the principals an opportunity to quickly share and then take questions. All right. If you'd like to, anything you'd like to share? Okay. Just wanted to make sure. I know the first slide that I saw earlier was Member Loeffler-Kemp, so then I'll go with Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Thank you so much. This is excellent information. And again, appreciate all of the staff that are here, you joining us and us getting an opportunity to meet you as well. So thank you. A couple quick questions. The music room that turned into a classroom, where is the music program now?
So the music room moved next door, and it's in the room that the community schools office used to be in. And the community schools moved up into one of the new rooms up in the library.
Okay, great. And then this is more a comment, I guess, with the Myers-Wilkins Community School Collaborative. Really glad to hear how closely you're working with them. And I know I just recently talked with the director, Kim, and she actually expressed the same comments about how well the collaboration is happening, particularly with the new families. So excellent there. My other question, and I only have two more, was how, this is excellent information, and I'm just curious, how has this been sent out, communicated to the families? Because this answers many questions that I know I've received.
Actually, so I think the letter went, though, from what I understand, did it go to all families, or did it just, I think it went just to the one grade level. So I think this information, it would be good for us to send on to the rest. And so I think that would be
I think that would be an
helpful and
excellent
thoughtful,
idea.
because this is,
We could
it's,
send this to them.
there's a lot of success, right? And so maybe sending, maybe sending this and/or the letter. But I think that sharing with all families would create a equal understanding of the good things going on, as well as I also want to say thank you to the staff as well. You're doing amazing, amazing work, and the leaders of the school. I have a lot of pride for what you're doing.
Thank you. And just my last question, when you talked about the specialist time being combined, is that being done in Spanish or English or a combination?
No, the teaching is all, because there are, right, it's our specialist teachers that are there. So no, that's being done, all that is being done in English.
But I want to make sure you have an opportunity to say the why we did that. You can share, why did we decide to have the combined?
Yeah, I mean, it really had to do with that connection piece to make sure that, you know, everybody was seeing that we were all one school together. So that's why we did that. So I had done this in a past district in a school that had a center program in it, and it worked really well. So I'm like, let's try it. So I stopped her on the kinder, because it doesn't really work well in kinder. They're just trying to figure out how to do school. So we kind of missed that at the beginning, and we went back. We're like, nope, let's just go as classes to kinder, and that has gone much better now. But yeah, so they all each have their color group. They speak about their color group. They know what their color groups are, and they do the same rotation through. They just are going with a different group of kiddos when they go to those spaces.
And
I
thank you.
love that you're doing that. I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
I want to emphasize that because that was a strategy. It was really strategic to make sure that there was connection. And we learned, you know, Eve, I know, has been striving for, you know, to make sure that the school feels like one school and not separate programs within the school. And we have been really strategic. We knew there was a way to do it at Myers-Wilkins. And so I'm really proud of the fact that we were able to find clever ways to make that happen, because it can't be done everywhere. And so just want to make sure we emphasize that, the why.
Thank you.
Member Banks?
Oh, thank you very much. So this is probably, I didn't see it in the documentation, a demographic question as to how many kids of color specifically are enrolled in the Spanish language immersion program at Myers-Wilkins. I'm just curious as to that, and if you have that same information for Lowell, that would be helpful too.
One more.
That's it right there.
So this is actually the
That's
numbers?
the school, though. He's asking in Spanish immersion class.
Oh, in Spanish immersion?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm
In-
going to think
if-
about how to get that data.
Okay. It would be interesting to see.
But we can get that data.
So,
We will follow back up. If it's not identifiable. Yeah.
and there's no rush on it, I'm just curious. Thank you.
Lowell is different. Lowell is different because at some point they separated the schools, and I think you're aware of this. Lowell Elementary is Masabakong and English. And then we have a separate budget code, so a separate school for Spanish immersion. Myers-Wilkins, we worked with MDE, we had meetings with them to come up with the best scenario. Were we going to do that down there or not? We decided not. We really wanted one Myers-Wilkins. And so when I look up the information, it pulls up as a school, so it would have to be by class, which would be different, so. I
So
could try
would
to
it
get
be difficult to ascertain that, or is it possible to get that?
I could get it.
Okay, okay.
Chair Derek Eater.
So I'm just curious, back at Lowell, Principal, how does it feel to have a little bit of breathing room and a little bit of space? And what does drop-offs in the morning look like, and pickups and recess and lunchroom? Like, how does it feel?
Everything is positive and unicorns at Lowell Elementary this year. First of all, I just want to say I miss these people dearly. But you walk around Lowell and it just feels calm. Sometimes I have a new dean and we have a really great SEB, and we'll just kind of stand and look at each other. We're just kind of waiting for something to happen, and then it doesn't. Just fewer bodies, fewer chaos, or less chaos, less problems, less emails to me. Our behavior incidents are down. The lunchroom is quieter. Everyone is a little bit more spread out. When you walk, it used to be when there would be kids coming in from recess, kids going to class from lunch, and specialists coming all in this little half of a hallway. It would be like 400 kids trying to intersect and transition at one time, and it was really, really hard. We always worried about losing like kindergartners. That fear is gone. We also did a huge classroom switch. We have a space where special education groups can meet that are close to kindergarten classrooms now. We have, like our social worker has a beautiful space. We have like push-ins going in or interventionists going in and pushing in. And if it's a little too loud one day in a classroom, they have spaces they can move to. Really, it feels really positive, and it feels really good at Lowell. It feels like we're the size we're supposed to be.
That's great. I'm thrilled for you. I'm just thrilled the way Myers is really, have a chance to shine. We all know what a great school it is, and now it has this opportunity for our community. And I'm glad that Lowell, you just have some room, because that was a lot of bodies in that school, just a lot of kids. So thank you both very much. And thank you to our teachers for showing the plasticity to be able to move and change. So thank you all.
Member Mikesell, and then Superintendent Magus.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you especially our teachers, I know, and our principals. It's a very long day, and then to come and share with us we appreciate it so much. And also all your flexibility over the course of this year as all these changes have happened, and the important part you've played and all that. I'm curious, do we currently have a waiting list for our program? Are we able to accommodate everyone who wants it? What does that look like?
Well, actually, Shannon's the one that keeps track of that, but no, we don't have a wait list. And we really worked, right? For Myers-Wilkins? Which grade levels? She keeps track of that. But we really worked, if families left, she was really great at keeping track of who applied for the program when, and we really we tried to get them in before school started. And so that worked out, I thought, the way she did that. So she would have to tell us.
I don't have it up right now. I want to say
She needs the mic.
there's one for kindergarten, and I think one or two for first grade, and then I know there's two for fourth grade.
So, but that list before school started was very long. Like, the wait list got pretty long for Myers, especially for kindergarten. And they just, as families moved, or they dropped out, or, other circumstances, kids just moved up and they got, everybody who was on the wait list during the summer is in now. So the wait list now has been within the month. So,
That's great to hear that we've been able to accommodate so many students and families who wanted to be there. Is there any thought to expanding the program further? Obviously, there's a room issue, and I assume a staffing issue, but in the future, like, what are our plans looking like for that? Or are we just going to stay steady right now and make sure that we have a good, stable foundation?
The latter, just really assess things, evaluate how the programming goes, continue to assess the interest. It's, again, the numbers are solid in terms of the number of students across the district who want Spanish, and hearing that there's a list. So we just have to continue to monitor and see if there's an interest in it. And I always say it would be a good problem to solve if more students wanted to enter into Spanish at kindergarten, and we had to find another space at Myers Wilkins to add another kindergarten in the future. In the future. You're right. So it'd be a great problem to have in the future.
Thank you.
Superintendent Magus?
Actually, Member Lofald, if you want to go first, I want to kind of say in closure.
Good plan, good plan. So can you go back to the slide that shows the section size of classes? Because my question would just be, along the lines of Member Mike Sell too, and actually Chair Eder stole my first question too about the feel at Lowell and the transportation hub thing. But so if we look at the numbers in Myers Wilkins, well, the fifth grade, well, where are we? Okay, we're in there. So I guess I think for third and fourth grade at 27, and then knowing that, the way that immersion works, unless they drop out of the immersion because of class size, that our third graders are going to stay in a class size all of this year, all of fourth grade, and all of fifth grade. And I just thought that the district's kind of policy was to try to keep our elementaries at least under 25 or so. I just worry about those numbers, and if there's a plan, almost like what Member Mike Sell said, is there a plan to allow another section, and where would we put that? And the other numbers don't strike me to be so terrible. In fact, the breakout was really nice, because I was thinking there cannot be 39 in a first grade classroom at Lowell. That just probably isn't happening. That's the PowerPoint we got first. That's why I sent the questions about class sizes, but I still feel that 27 is high.
Director Sparks will be able to add to this, but just keep in mind, students don't enter into Spanish in second, third, fourth, or fifth. So the numbers more than likely will stay stable in the grades 3, 4, and 5 as they matriculate up. So those will stay solid. So the only entry point right now for Myers students in Spanish is at kindergarten and first grade. So. Right.
27 in third, fourth, and fifth grade is, if I had other spreadsheets I could show you, they're fine. I mean, across our district, that's super common. As kids in K1 and 2, you want the smaller class sizes. When they get into 3, 4, and 5, we have more kids, so higher class sizes, and that's very common across our whole district. So that is, like, I would say right in with what we usually have, or at least on our east side, not our west side. So I think, yeah, that's okay, yeah. Like I said, there's always a formula of attrition for Spanish immersion. We didn't really experience that with the transition, which was awesome, and it was a little surprising, but I'm just guessing there will be some from third to fourth and fourth to fifth. There always is. For people move, and there can't be new families that come in, because we just don't accept new families at those grade levels. So when they leave, they leave. So
I'm assuming that the fourth grade that Executive Secretary Brown shared probably is on a wait list, but was in the program, and I think you said something about a fourth grader was on a wait list.
We have 2 fourth graders on the wait list. I think they were actually their Lowell families.
They wanted to be on a wait list for fourth grade. They're at Lowell, and their home, their plan school is Lowell, but they wanted to move to Myers. So they wanted to be put on a wait list. They were informed that at this time, we're not doing that. Whatever zone you're in is where you're going to go. But they chose to be on the wait list.
So they're still in the program, they're just at Lowell.
Superintendent, you said you wanted to close out. If so, then Member Banks has a question. Go ahead.
I have a special request. I'm wondering if we can hear from the teachers, 1 or 2, maybe Dr. Gabriella and someone else. Just, you're the ones doing the job, and I'd just like to hear from you and tell us how you think it's going,
And if you could come on up to the mic.
if you don't mind.
Press the button for us. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. My name is Glenda of Latour, and I am the 27 kids at third grade. And Alvarez, he's the fourth grade with the 27 kids. And all that I have to say is that I have to do excellent planning, keep them occupied all the time. But I also have a really good team. The other third grade teachers in English, they are really facilitating a lot in terms of curriculum and getting to know the system and the school, and literally trying to figure it out, the specialist piece. They were like talking to me like I was the kindergarten, and that was fantastic. Excellent teaching technique. So we just have to, I feel like I have a lot of support from the staff and from Lisa. So far, it's a lot of kiddos, but
certain behaviors that are happening, so that they also feel heard and that they feel like it's a safe place to be. And so, yeah, I guess I just request more like professional development on how to handle certain things, because, you know, it's our first year at Myers-Wilkins, and Lowell, we didn't really have a lot of those challenging behaviors, and so I would just like more of that, just support for that. But again, I'm really glad that I'm at Myers. It's an updated school, which is great. We have an elevator. I've been on it. And Lisa's just an amazing leader too, just like Eve was. And so I miss my Lowell, friends. I want to start tearing up, but yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Yes, really quick. Thank you for all the support. I think that we have gotten from you guys, but also teachers. We have working so hard every single day with the transition, with the family, with everything. They just, I cannot express my gratitude for them. And also, it's been kind of challenging sometimes with all this equipment and material, curriculum stuff, a lot of work, but hard workers. So, but also, I want to, I don't know if it's the place for this, but I want to advocate a little bit to think about the future of the program. We're doing good, and we have done a lot with this program, including, I know I've been advocating for diversity, inclusion, and all this for many years. You know that. Teachers of color, So that not only for kids, but teachers of color working for the district. Many years we have working, and you know that because we're working together for, in different projects. We have that. For the future of the program, I want to see this program in high school. Okay, and I have a lot of parents requesting that. And remember, this program is in 3 schools, the middle school, and Myers and a Lowell. But we have to think about that, because a lot of parents has been requesting me and want information about it. And so she has some, she talked to me this morning about it too. And I know I have other teachers talking to me, what are we gonna do for high school? So I will bring up something in the future. I propose or something. You wanna talk a little bit about it? I mean, when she had this morning, Megan, that's what I've been thinking, and what have I been doing?
I think just that continuity piece for the program, and I think last spring, one of the comments as we grew to Myers was really that growth and expansion, and I heard it mentioned here a couple of times. But I think that's really an important piece of moving forward and the continuity of the program. And Gabby's done a phenomenal job of managing something at 3 sites, given an old management system of 1 site. And so kudos to trying to make that all work. She used one of my rolling carts to haul things in the back of her vehicle. You know, we just, I think all of us have, we want we want to see the success of the students at all 3 sites, and we're doing everything in our power to do that, so.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Superintendent Magnus?
Sure. No, I just want to say thank you to our teachers, and also on the last comments, we want to make sure that our students are supported throughout their school careers here in Duluth. I think it's important that we continue to support our bilingual students as they go into secondary, something that I was part of in previous work in other districts, and it's important. They've invested a lot of time, a lot of effort. You've invested a lot of time and effort, and we want to make sure that we keep those bilingual skills going. And also thanks to the leadership, the principals, Director Sparts, and also I'd like to say thanks to Assistant Superintendent Bonds, because when we first were proposing this, I know a lot of people were like, and I think sometimes one of your fortes, Mr. Bonds, is to look at something and find the difficult, like the hard, sometimes it's a hard choice and a hard process to go through, but it was the right choice. And thinking about, you know, we didn't want to break up the band because you were the Lowell team, but knowing that we wanted to expand and knowing that we wanted to do this and having the support of Director Sparts in doing so, I think we showed that we can take a tough situation and make it better, not just for one school, but for multiple schools. And I also would say that as we look at these numbers, as we look at this situation, I think we have to reflect as a community and as a school district about programming and capacity in our different buildings, and realize that we're approaching a point at which we have to more seriously consider the capacity and programming and those different aspects for the whole district, because it's important for us to think about all of our students, think about some of the overcrowding we have, thinking about making sure that we're spreading capacity and programming to different schools. And so I thank the whole team for being so forward-thinking and so positively minded in all the work you did.
Thank you. Looks like there's one more question. Member Lawful-Camp.
I'm sorry, I just had to add, sorry. I shared this with the staff when I greeted them, just how it's been so great to see the growth of this program. It was one of the first votes I got to take on and be a part of as a new school board member. And so I appreciate you also sharing kind of your vision as we then, as a board, can continue to vision this. It totally has turned out to be something that I just, you know, back when I voted on it, did not think it would be as, I wasn't sure where the success was going to be, and it was because of the hard work and the vision. And so just thank you again for sharing some of your insights. Yeah.
Thank you. Next, we have a presentation by our Director of Secondary Schools. Director Larver will come up. It's an update related to our SRO program And she also has several guests that she will take the time to introduce. And so I will turn it over to Director Lavra.
As we transition into an SRO presentation, which I know that she's working hard on getting up for me, right, Shannon? I just want to acknowledge that we have our 4 sites represented here, and it is conference night tonight, so they're missing conferences right now in order to be here. So we have Tom Tuskin, Brian Kazmierczak, John Flaw, and Jody Stacken, and they are available for us to have some conversation, and I may be pulling them up if there's any questions that you're asking, because they know the boots on the ground pieces of it. I'd also like to introduce you to Mike Jamber. If you didn't know Officer Jamber, he's here today to help me with this presentation regarding the SRO update, program update. I would ask that you take a look at your information that was in board book. The evaluation tool was one of the links. It looks like this. You have a presentation from me, which kind of gives the overview of the evaluation tool, kind of just the highlights of it, but I do have this in your board packet as well for you to look at if you want more of the specific details. And then we can take questions and stuff at the end if you just don't mind us being able to run through the presentation and then moving on from there with questions. Okay? All right, so go ahead. First of all, I know this is a public venue, so I wanted everybody in the public to know how you get access to our resources regarding the SRO program. Adele Wellings is our communications communications officer, that's her title. And so she has done a really nice job of making sure that everything is updated on there. So if you go to our website and you go to the About Us section, you can click on School Resource Officers. And then there's actually a spot where you can actually meet and see the faces and read about all of our different officers. Officer Jamber is on there, but he doesn't have his face on there or any details like that. But he is mentioned on that site as well. But you can see we have 4 officers right now that are assigned to specific sites, but they also help and support some of our other sites as needed. So Officer Dardis is at East, and I think he's one of our he's our newest one, right? He's our newest officer. We have Officer Hannah, who is at Ordine East. We have Officer Cheney at Lincoln Park, and we have Officer Simons at Denfeld. So those are our 4 officers that we currently have. I wanted today to give you just a little bit of an update about our advisory committee. So last year we met twice. We met in February and in May. And really, I was kind of late coming into it. This was my first year in running the SRO program. We actually have Member Banks as part of our committee. So he sits on that committee, as well as some of our principals and assistant principals that are sitting here today. There's a few community members. The list that we invite is much more expansive than who shows up to our meetings. So it's really kind of a smaller group that comes, but we do invite many different entities in our community. I've done some reaching out too to try to get people to want to really engage in our SRO advisory committee. It's just, I think, it's hard to commit to things like that sometimes. So it's always open, and I'm putting this invitation out there to the public right now, if they're listening to this, that they can reach out to me if they want to become part of our advisory committee, and I will get them an invite when we do set up our schedule for that. So we did meet twice, and really what we did was we established a program assessment checklist. I think that the assessment piece had been something that the committee had been wrestling with for quite some time, and it was in a rubric format, which is sometimes kind of challenging. And so we took a look at this from what are our expectations, and let's run through, like, are they meeting expectations or not? Kind of that proficiency realm. Like if you take a look at a rubric and there's 4 different columns, we really were just saying, are we proficient? And that's where we landed on that. So we did create the tool, which is also in board book, and you have access to that. So we took a look at that and we established that we were going to try the checklist this year. And when we did try it, it seemed to be pretty successful. I didn't get any pushback on it. It seemed like the committee liked being able to use the tool in order to establish an evaluation for this past school year. Other things that we did is we discussed the survey administration and results. So Adele Wellings has some survey questions that we ask every year annually related to the SRO. And we discussed when to hand out the survey, and I'll give a little bit of update on that when we get a little bit further in about what seems appropriate for that. So the survey, we tied this past year to when the climate survey goes out to families and to students. So in the spring, it went out, and we'll talk about the results a little bit there. We also spent time at both of the meetings reviewing citation and restorative actions data, and I'll have that there for you too that we'll look at later, but that's things that we did together in our committee. And then we reviewed program assessment data in that May one, so I collected some data and presented it to the committee. The principals and I had sat down and looked at the checklist, and then we had taken some notes and we had put things in, and then we shared out those results with the committee and had some further discussion about that. So that's really what our committee did last year in those two meetings.
Member Sadowski?
A couple of us are having a hard time finding the assessment tool. I mean, I went through the packet beforehand too. I'm just not seeing it on here. Can you tell me which page it's linked on?
It is a separate thing. It's its own.
I don't, all I see is
In
that
board
and then the
book?
cover page on the board book. But that's,
We will
I'm
look-
just saying, I don't, we can look at it later too.
We'll look for
I
it and
just-
send it to
Because
you,
you were
you know.
referencing it, I kept trying to look for
Yeah,
it.
and that would be something that Shannon would put in there, so I wouldn't know how it worked.
It should be in there, all three links, the cover sheet, the assessment, and the.
Okay. Well,
We will look for it
no problem.
and send it.
We were having a hard time, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, well, I wanted you to all know where it was, so yeah, sorry about that. It's okay. So we're going to actually move into the assessment piece now. So the stuff that's on here is that overview. The details are just even more onto this sheet here. So we had a couple different focus areas that we were looking at, and one of them was about building relationships. That was our first area that we were assessing our program. And the really cool thing about this, we had 4 areas there, and we met expectations across all of our sites in all of the different areas. So when we talk about our successfully building student relationships, they're introducing themselves to students at least 5 or 6 times over the course of the school year. That was what one of the things were. They were invited to like 260 different staff meetings and met with 91 of 92 student groups that requested their presence, which was, I think, a big uptick from previous years. I think you have that data, but that was a significant uptick, if I remember correctly. They also attended 165 after-school activities, so lots of engagement, even after school time. And then when we took a look at the survey, there was a question in the survey about increased visibility in before and after schools and during lunchtime. And students all felt like it was positive. 83.8% of those surveyed felt like that was a positive piece of it. So that was a really successful area on the rubric that we felt like we needed to highlight. And I'm going to let Officer Jamber talk about the next slide, which is the positive interaction slide. Shannon, if you could go to that slide.
Thank you for the hospitality and the invite tonight, by the way. So this slide, I'll go through briefly. I'm guessing we'll have questions at the end. We'll see when we look at positive student interactions year over year, the increase and the drastic increase last year. As a school board, as you all know, our group of SROs has changed over the 4 years that I've been a part of this program. And I think Really, the direction the program has gone with the focus on building relationships with students and staff, as well as getting different SROs in with different approaches, has really led to that drastic increase that we see, especially last year with the positive student interactions. For those of you that may wonder what a positive student interaction is, it's more than a hi in the hallway as you pass. It's maybe a short conversation or something more than a greeting as you meet in the hallway. The same thing goes for positive student or teacher interactions. We'll see an increase in that as well, and I would just really attribute the same reasons for the increase in that category. This program, the SROs working with the staff of the buildings have, it's really a team effort. It's not the SRO doing it on their own. They're getting a lot of support from the staff and the admin at their respective buildings and the elementaries to come out and engage with students and staff and make these positive interactions happen. Student group visit requests, we'll see we go from 28 to 98. I think, again, it's that really getting on the same page with building admin and reaching out to the student groups and letting them know, like, the SROs are willing to come and visit with you, that's no problem. So we'll see an uptick that in both the requests and the visits. Elementary school visits, they did drop when we look at the 22 to 2023. That I don't have a real good explanation why it's so high in that first year and then we kind of plateau out to where we've been for the past two. I know we're very involved in the elementaries, both with dealing with issues on what could be a daily basis at times and then doing some of our outreach activities, whether we go with the fun bus and hand out ices for whatever events going on at the school. Counseling and mentoring sessions, those are opportunities for the SROs to really be that coach, that mentor, that open ear for students that are dealing with issues that aren't really a school problem, and they're not really a law enforcement problem. It's kind of just being that open ear for the kids, maybe provide them a little guidance in issues they're dealing with in their personal life. And fortunately, we see that they trust the SROs to go to them and have those interactions and ask them for the help along the way, and that number goes up every year. So I'm proud of the culture that's being built in these schools, both, again, by the SROs and their admin teams. We're seeing a lot of good things and a lot of good interactions with these students. So after-school activities attended, again, with a focus on being there and being present. A lot of these SROs see the students at their school as, quote, their kids. They're invested in the students. They're invested in seeing them succeed and go from grade to grade, and they want to be there for them and support them at their sporting events or whatever may be going on in the evenings as well. And it's also a good time for the SROs to have interactions with parents and other family members and community members at the same time. So de-escalation opportunities. Again, these are just opportunities for the officers to, use a lot of their training and experience to de-escalate situations to a point to where we hope that our law enforcement interaction and involvement is really minimized. Situations we'll see kind of really stay roughly the same. They don't change a lot. I think that's just a result of behaviors and opportunities that the SROs have, and then their use by building admin to come in and help out with different situations. The restorative action, one on the very bottom, we just started tracking. As you can see, it's blank in 22, 23. So I wanted to try and capture some data on when were situations and how many situations did we have where the SROs maybe could have issued a citation but opted not to. So we're going to see actually very high numbers that were surprising me when I saw it come in. These are opportunities where the SROs dealt with a situation with their building admin. The decision was to go the restorative route instead of issue a citation. So when we look at the citation numbers when that report comes out monthly and we see the numbers that we see, these are how many times they could have, but they didn't. They took into account that student's individual situation, the totality of the circumstances, the prior interactions with students, all of those things that go into the decision-making to what's the best solution and end outcome for that particular student. Goes into situations like this where we see a lot of restorative action and a lot of opportunities where citations could have been written but were not, just because they were not what was best for the student at that time.
Thank you. And I did see a discrepancy. I just want to make it clear that his data was updated at the end of the year for 24, 25. And I know that when I was saying like there was 165 after-school events, I just noticed it when I was here. We did this in May, so at the time there was 165, but it looks like we had a few more after that, even after-school events. So his data would be in totality of the school year, where we were looking specifically in May, and I wanted to make sure I was clear on that for you all.
Member Lawful Kemp. And Board, I would like you to know I did email you the assessment rubric that was requested. So sorry about that not being uploaded, but if you check your email, it is there.
So can we do questions at the end, or? Okay, thank you. So when we take a look at the next slide, some more pieces about the program findings. So if we looked specifically at assessing the SRO program itself, so our SRO is participating in data review at each site and going through those citations that are being issued. Our principals providing input into the evaluation of the SROs. Our student survey, like our student surveys, responses, similar, different, those kinds of things. So our survey data is remaining consistent, but if you look at the assessment rubric, we had a significantly less response rate. We were really trying hard to tag our survey onto like the climate survey, because we want like a same window of opportunity. We have a lot of testing, a lot of surveying, a lot of things that are happening in the spring. And so we were trying to make it more convenient for students and families. But we only had 142 responses, where in 2024 we had 1,080 responses from students. And so we have to rethink maybe a little bit. That could also be an impact of not having WIN anymore. We used to have a WINS period where that was easily distributed and we could just devote it to that time frame. And so we just found out that we didn't have as much of a response. So we're rethinking that, like when to do it and how to do it, so that we get more responses from our students. But it was really positive in that 80% of those who had an interaction with an SRO, who took it of the 142, thought that it was a positive interaction. And then 91% of those 142 students also felt comfortable speaking to the SRO, which I thought was really important information. So we did make a recommendation to evaluate officers more in the spring, maybe tied in with like a site visit, because we find that principals are available for part of the year, but they're not always here when you're doing your year-end evaluation. And so we need to find a different cadence in order for us to have principals really be able to provide input into those SRO evaluations. It's like they've been doing them like in August, and so it doesn't really fall into the school year, but we had some really good conversation around that as well. The next area on our assessment tool is professional development, and I want to assure you that all of our SROs are receiving professional development, but not necessarily within participating in the school district PD. It's not always applicable to their job role either. So I'm going to let you go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the opportunities that you all do with your SROs.
So they go to two main conferences this last year. They went to the Minnesota Juvenile Officers Association Conference, which we host in Duluth. Good conference for them. We were also fortunate that the Minnesota School Safety Center came to Duluth last year, put on a conference as well that was attended by everyone in our school resource officer unit. So those conferences were attended above and beyond what would be the basic SRO school that the SROs are going to. We're working with the Minnesota School Safety Center because, as we know, with the new legislation and post requirements, that they have to go through an SRO refresher on a more regular basis. Previously, that requirement didn't exist. We're working on actually hosting those trainings here in Duluth so we can make sure that we're getting that done and also be kind of a center hub for the Arrowhead region of the state. That is all in addition to the required post-mandated training that we go through on a 3-year certification basis, which in one of the newsletters I put out, I probably went way too far into details, all the training that they go through. Happy to list it out or resend you that newsletter if you're interested in knowing each and every training that they go through. I have somewhat of a list here. Crisis intervention and mental illness crisis, conflict management and mediation, recognizing and valuing community diversity and implicit bias, including crimes motivated by bias, autism training, duty to intercede, wellness training. All those are just a few to name the many required training classes that we need to go through as police officers, and then even more so as SROs.
Thank you. You can go to the next slide. And then our last area that gets evaluated on our assessment tool is around communication and transparency. And we will talk a little bit about the citation data in just a second, but I just wanted to share how to get to some of it. So I put a little picture of it on there. So if you're on that SRO page, and this is really more for the public, because I want them to know how to access it, right? How to access our data. There's this little spot that's kind of down in the right, down in the right, where it says citation data, the student and family survey data, and then this activity data. We now have added that that positive activity data. We put that on there for the year. So that's where you can find it updated, and it is updated monthly. Somebody from your office just sends it over, and Adele is always making sure that it gets uploaded to the district website. So it's always there. So that was a yes, it's there for all sites. And then the other piece is like when we have new officers, we are getting updated. Sometimes we update a new picture. If we have a really cool picture of the 4 of you doing something cool or something, we might update the picture. So we do update as we get that information, and so that was really positive as well. I would like you to click on the citation if you don't mind, so that we can have a little bit of a conversation about the citation data as well. So if you click on that link. So this is what our citation data looks like. Yep, thank you very much. You will see that it is for each year. So we had, I think it goes back several years. I don't know how many years right off the top of my head, but it goes back several years. So you can go ahead and take a comparative look at the years prior, the couple years prior. And if you remember our coming back from COVID, we had a significant higher number than we currently are having right now. So last year you'll see that this is our citations. And again, remember we had 254 restorative opportunities as well, which did not end up in a citation. But you can see here that we ended up with a total number of citations that were issued across all of our secondary sites of being 22. We do note as far as the type of citations, like what kind of citations they are, we do note the race of our suspects and the race of any assault victims that we may or may not have. And then it is listed out by site, the type as well. If you look at those citation charges, what they were charged with. So you can see like Denfeld had 10 citations issued last year. East had 3. Lincoln had, it looks like 8, I think. And then Ordine East had 4. And so it says total charges are 25, but total citations by, I don't know how it gets to 22. That kind of is confusing me all of a sudden when I look at that. But yeah, so I don't know if there's anything to add with that.
I'll just explain it again. So when it comes to citations issued, you'll see citations issued as a number that's lower than charges. All that is more than one charge can be on one citation. So what I will add is looking over the previous 3 school years, our citations issued have gone down every year. We went from 34 in the 2022-23 school year to 23 issued in 23-24, and then 22 last year. I will also just say that, again, I would hesitate to use citation data as a determining point in whether or not this program is successful or not. But with that being said, again, bringing back the team effort approach to this is these citations, when we issue citations, it's not anything that we take lightly or the SROs take lightly. It is definitely a conversation between the SRO, the staff, many times family members and parents and guardians, trying to find the best path forward for these young men and women as they navigate their school careers. And many times, there are times where we land on the decision that the citation is the best path forward for them.
The last slide is just about my contact and Sergeant Jambor's contact. So if you had any need to reach us, those would be how you could email us about any of the information that you find in our presentation. But we will open it up to any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you. Member Lawfer-Kemp was first, and then I'll come to Member Sadowski.
Thank you so much. Always appreciate the overview of the program, especially how you highlight and really highlighted in lots of different ways the relationship building and the professional development. So thank you on that. I was going to ask a question about examples of citations, but I think I have it answered by that one slide. I was curious, though, because I think we've heard about it in different ways, and maybe people have different perspectives on what is restorative steps that you take. And maybe just explain that so we all have the same language and understanding of, in the cases like you've mentioned, how you've proceeded with restorative practices.
Yeah, no, and that's a good question. So when it comes to dealing with situations in the schools and dealing with the admin teams at the individual sites, it's essentially a conversation of, like I said, kind of what's the best path forward. If, as a group, everyone decides that citation is not the best direction and the best solution for the situation, then the SRO would hand that off to the school administrative staff to take whatever measures they see fit, whatever programs they have running at their school. So if they wanted to come up and talk about what those options are, I would invite them to do so, because I'm really not up to par on what each individual site has to offer for their students and what opportunities are probably taken more than others.
I don't know, Tom, Brian, Jody, or John, anyone want to come up and kind of say a couple things about what we do for restorative?
You pick.
Good evening, everyone. So restorative practices at Lincoln and Denfeld, I would say, are fairly similar because a lot of ours grew out of Lincoln's. We each have an alternatives to suspension program called PAUSE. We have a DEN program at Denfeld, which is pre-referral, meaning it's kind of before kids get to a point where they might end up in PAUSE. And I think a lot of the conversations that our SROs have that are restorative in nature are about trying to talk our way through things so kids have a sense of what the impact of what they did was, and take some accountability for it. Sometimes it doesn't even end up in a program for some of our kids. They simply are able to navigate that between the SRO and our admin team and the kid and figure out what that could look like, because sometimes it's simply getting the kid connected to a resource. But that's what we have going on at Denfeld.
Our PAUSE program is been around for, well, 7 or 8 years now at Lincoln. We had a version of the DEN, but our DEN now at Lincoln is done at the grade level with the Dean of Students. That's our pre-referral intervention, trying to, I mean, they're helping mitigate conflict in doing those things on the floor level, and that allows it, because we see a pretty high, significant volume of behaviors that we can get in front of with the emotions of middle schoolers. So,
John Flott, East High School. So I'll speak to it a little bit. I think that one of the things that has happened, I mean, I've had a SRO in our building since I've been a principal. I think I'm in my 12th year. And so we had Bill Stauber before, now we've got Mr. Dardis. One of the things that I think that was really understood, first of all, is developing a relationship, which is the key if you're dealing with, as a teacher or as an adult or anything that you're doing, you're building relationship with staff and kids. And we've managed to build really great relationships with our SROs. I'm a little angry sometimes because they're a lot more popular than we are. Officer Dardis, we just had class meetings and he got up there and everyone's cheering, and like Mr. Rock and I get up there and like, oh, those old guys again. So I mean, they really enjoy him quite a bit. I would say one of the biggest things, we get a lot of, unfortunately, vaping, whether it be nicotine or THC. It's probably our most common offense. And in a case like that, you know, we talk to the kid, we give them an option typically of, and it's kind of a fictitious option, but we'll give them an option of, hey, you can either get a ticket from the SRO, or you can write a one-page paper on the harmful effects of vaping, which is typically one of the first things that we do on a first offense. And then Officer Dardis will come over and say, hey, you know, this is what would happen if you got a ticket in the community. You'd have to go to the judge, you know, it would cost you money, your parents would be, you know, dragged along in the deal. And so he explains the infraction, and also talks about, you know, if there's a same or similar that comes down the line, then we might have a different conversation. But it almost never gets to that point. Kids really start to understand that gravity. And that's also true if it's a situation where it could be disorderly, it could be whatever. We discuss that possibility and what that would have meant. And that really helps us quite a bit. And then we'll backfill that with our MTSS person that also helps with restorative conversations. And typically that will involve something like, you know, being aware of our conversation that we had with the SRO and the administration with the student. And then they'll have them do something like, you know, either watch a video that's pertinent, read something, and then that gives the MTSS person a way to expand upon that as well. Having a conversation now because the kid has some background in reading or looking at something, and then they can fortify that with a conversation specific to what they did. So the restorative piece runs through the SRO, the administrator involved, and our MTSS as a team, and that really seems to be effective.
Member Sadowski.
Good evening. Thank you for all of you for being here, especially Sergeant Jambor. Thank you for sharing tonight. First, just wanted to make a quick comment. I have a question, but on page 18 with the restorative action, I just really appreciate you all sharing about that, especially just the fact that you're taking into account the big picture of each student. That's kind of what I wrote down. I think you used different words, but I'm sure, you know, taking into account things like, you know, what might be going on at home or with peers, socio-emotional things, housing status, trauma, things like that. So I really appreciate that, taking into account the context of what might be happening in that student's life. And one question I had, I was looking at page, gosh, I'm not sure what page this is, but the data about building student relationships. I was just curious how SROs are ensuring that they are intentionally building relationships with a variety of students and student groups. So if you could maybe share a little bit about that, or you could email me as a follow-up. And then I was curious if we could maybe get a list of what student groups, you know, they visited with. Not right now, but maybe later on that.
That would take me some time to mine that information out, but it's doable.
Yeah, if it's too cumbersome, no worries, but.
No, I think that we can make that happen. That's no problem at all. As far as your previous question, that was ensuring that they're kind of meeting with all the students in the school throughout the day?
Yeah, so I was thinking of like, you know, maybe during lunchtime, they're, you know, going through talking to different students groups, just making sure they're being mindful to how they're doing that.
So we saw the big jump in positive student contacts, especially last year. I'll attribute a fair amount of that to Officer Dardis at East. I can stop out there almost any lunch period, and he will specifically and intentionally go to every table in that lunchroom and visit with those kids every day. So he's not missing one. If they're at a lunch table eating lunch, he's going to go visit with them. Some tables may have shorter conversations than others, but he's being intentional to make sure that he can reach as many students as he can in one particular day. And I know many similar things happen across the other 3 schools where they are as well. You're welcome.
Member Banks.
Thank you. So I just have page 18, looking for clarification. So you mentioned here elementary school visits. Is that in the SRO contract, or is that extra or add-on work that you're doing that the city is paying for? Who's paying for those visits, or is that in the contract?
The answer is both. So it is in the contract, a requirement that the school district carves out time and allows time for the SROs to have interactions and go to those elementary schools. As far as the cost, that's just, I don't even know how we would begin to figure out when that is. I would just say it's part of the contracted services that the school district is getting from the SROs, and that requirement is carved out in that contract that they spend time in the elementaries.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's see, second question. I'm always concerned about the school-to-prison pipeline. That's a big issue. It remains a concern of mine and folks who look like me in communities all over America, including Duluth. Kids of color are more so than anyone else the victims or targets of school-to-prison pipeline. And you mentioned in your report here that you do the implicit bias training. It says cultural responsive and implicit bias training accomplished. So is that training every year, or is it 2 or 3 years? How does that work?
So the training requirement for that for us is we go through a post-licensing cycle, which is a 3-year cycle. The requirement is that we attend that training one time within that 3-year cycle. However, without knowing specifics, because we do online training as well, so that's covered in a course that we go to, but it's also covered in online trainings that we do through a separate entity. So some may get it more than others, but the one time per 3-year post cycle for sure.
Okay, I have 2 more questions. On one for page 18, counseling and mentoring sessions. I get very concerned when there's the use of counseling in the school setting by, and I don't know this for sure, but wondering if the police officers are licensed counselors in accordance with the Minnesota Department of Education or whatever that requirement would be in the state of Minnesota. If they're not licensed counselors as required by the state of Minnesota Department of Education and the state of Minnesota, I struggle with the use of that word if the folks are not licensed counselors. I'm just going to say that. Are your officers licensed by the Minnesota Department of Education or other licensing agencies in Minnesota?
They are not.
In this regard.
They are not. We've, the conversation that we had previously on this too.
Yeah.
The terminology used with counseling and mentoring is essentially just being an advisor. They're not claiming counseling as a title or anything of that sort. And after the conversation we had previously, I actually had removed that just so you were more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I did not, unfortunately, make this for you tonight,
Sure.
but I removed it from the ones that I made previously.
And I'm
Just so
concerned
you're more
about, you know, when I see that and other board members see it and other folks see it, I know in the state of Minnesota Department of Education, you have to be licensed and have credentials in a variety of different areas, and counseling is one of those things. So thank you for that.
And you had brought that up at our committee meeting, and we had talked about maybe using the terms assistance and guidance or something like that instead. And so I know that that was something that we'd said that we would start using more terminology that was a little different, so.
I would appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you. And then the last question, SRO officers of color. Have you ever had officers of color work in the schools? I know you've had women officers in the school system as it relates to our SROs. Has there ever been officers of color working in that capacity? Just curious.
To the best of my knowledge and the time I've been involved with the program, no. Prior to my time in this agency, I can't comment on that. I just don't know. Thank you. You're welcome.
Member Lofed?
Thank you, and just such an appreciation of where we've come in our SRO's communication with our community. and I really appreciate that. And it's really gone to, such an incredible tool to allow our public to know that our district supports SROs and requires and gets feedback from them so that we as board members can really know that our roles and our services that we provide our students are really top-notch. So much so that I do a lot of communication with boards across the state, and Duluth is really seen as someone who's handled the SRO education, communication, reporting back to school board and community better than most communities in our state. And that's coming from the MSBA's early morning coffee and conversation. It just came up this morning because we talk about it across our state, and we have navigated some really great opportunities, and we didn't have to sacrifice the respect of our SROs or the respect of our community as we deal with it, and just your willingness to come and give us the newsletter, Sergeant, and give us data that can really show and establish the strong SRO program in Duluth. So we appreciate that. And I know our principals and our deans and our assistant principals are also really glad to have the support, the knowledge, the experience that your team brings to our buildings.
Member Meixel?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here for our annual evaluation of our SRO program. I just am astounded at our positive student interactions. If we assume that there's 165 school days in our school year, that would equal out to be about 700 positive interactions per day for all 4 of our SROs, and 174 positive interactions per school per day. And so just curious, do they have a clicker? Like, how are they counting all of those
They do not have a clicker, no. Those numbers, they're doing their best. They can kind of, especially for the lunches, you can kind of figure out how many kids are sitting at a table, how many tables you hit. Best use of figuring out how many kids are coming and going. You kind of know how many kids are coming and going to the buses each day and that. So do they have a clicker? No, it's not super exact. If we had a way to do that, that would be great. But it's kind of a best approximation as to how many they're interacting with each day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good to hear. So a couple other questions. In our job description that we have in our contract, it talks about SRO personnel evaluations, and I think I asked this last year as well. Just want to confirm that our building administrators are part of that process, and that's happening every year.
They are, and that's kind of what we had mentioned before, is trying to find that good time of year. The beginning of the year is obviously very busy. The end of the year is obviously very busy. So trying to find the time to get those surveys out to building admin to get them back has been our struggle. The surveys are ready. I was kind of going to wait till we get closer into October to let things kind of simmer down at the beginning of the year and then push them out then and try and get them. And that's just going to be for last year.
And so those are performance evaluations that the principals and assistant principals are able to weigh in on the job of the SRO specifically.
Correct,
So they
correct.
participate via a survey, is that what you're saying then?
Yep, it'd be the survey, which would be outside of conversations that I have with admin
Got it.
on a constant basis.
Great,
It's good.
thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
One thing I noticed, how often do you send over the citation data then?
The report is run every month, so it should actually be coming out this week.
Okay, yeah, I just noticed
if
we
not
don't have
next.
September
Yeah.
yet, so
Yeah.
that'll be good to see how things are starting in the year. And then also just last thing, professional development, we talk about that a lot in our contract. And the district's obligation to be providing professional development to our SROs. And so I'm not sure if I should be concerned or not, but I recognize in our evaluation that we were emailed from the assistant superintendent that we currently are not meeting the expectation of professional development with SROs within our schools' professional development. I understand that some of the professional development days that we have might not necessarily be relevant to the work and the scope of practice that our SROs do, but I know that it's our district's obligation to be providing some information. So I don't know if one of our administrators can speak to this, but how are we upholding our portion of the contract with our public service officers who are here helping our schools and our city just wanted to talk a little bit more about if we have that in our contract, how are we meeting those obligations?
I think I can answer this with a question, but because it's been a few years, but we have not had a lot of turnover in SROs. And they went through our restorative practice training that the district put on. And that's not a yearly training, you get it and you have it for a long time. And so I know that our SROs were part of that initiative through the AWARE grant.
And I think like our PD days maybe are not quite there, but I know that we always are doing some sort of professional development with our staff meetings, and our SROs do engage with us in our staff meetings. So if there's something that's coming up, they would be there with the staff learning about things as well.
Member Williams?
I have a few questions as well. First, I did have the same question as Member Banks about the counseling, so thank you for asking that and for answering that. You asked a question. Oh, yeah, I was also curious about how those interactions were tracked, so I'm glad that you asked that question because that was a strikingly large number to me as well. I am curious, and this might not necessarily be a question for the SROs, or maybe specific SROs in specific buildings, but for sure for building principals. I'm just wondering the general overall feeling of safety our students are feeling right now, especially in light of Minneapolis and Annunciation, and just it was a really intense start to the school year. So I guess I'm asking a temperature gauge kind of question, how kiddos are feeling within the schools. So that's one question I have.
Principals?
Definitely the anxiety is up. The lockdown at Denfeld was one of the more traumatic things I've seen happen in that school. By traumatic, I mean how it impacted kids. I've had about 5 conversations with individual kids that came out of the class that the student was removed from, and some parent conversations as well. But, I mean, we had staff that were impacted by that because they were either directly or indirectly involved. That one scared us like nothing has scared us to this point, in my experience. So I would say the anxiety level for kids is up. They were using words after like confused, scared. Yeah, anxiety's up for sure. And then you compound that with everything that happened on a state level with Annunciation and some of the other political violence and everything else, which is partially why the district provided some extra support for Denfeld at the end of that week, because it all came to a head at the same time. And so, yeah, definitely feels different than it has in the past, for sure.
I assume that our SROs are also approaching our kiddos with more empathy and understanding of anxiety and emotions being high as well. So I am making that assumption, and I appreciate that. Another thing Member Sadowski pointed out, or maybe it was somebody else, but
people that are immediately involved and are on my safety team. It's like September 6th or something. We had a fire drill in which a dump truck on 40th did not want to stop for kids crossing and parents or teachers helping the kids get across, and kind of nudged his way through students. And so in our discussion with Officer Dardis, we now literally park his car on 40th with his lights on. And so that's just an example on the micro level of how we make adjustments regularly. And he's always a part of that operation and that thought process.
Member Banks?
Yeah, just, I have a special request. We talked earlier about relationship building. Is it possible for us as board members to meet the SROs? Because I don't know them personally, so it'd be great to build that relationship even at this level. Is that a possibility that would be not too cumbersome and all of that?
The best way to meet them is come out, I mean,
I kind of figured you were going to
come
say
on
that.
out. You can see them in their natural environment. You can do a walkthrough with them. But I would say, by all means, come out in your buildings. You can meet with the SROs and check in with us and teachers and kids and everything else. So
Because it is about relationship building.
doors are always
E-
open.
Even at this level. So, thank you.
See how many we can get.
Member Loeffler Kemp?
Yeah, I would just add, Member Banks, that's how I've met all of them, is just being out in the buildings, taking the time to find them, and they're usually very easily accessible, and just, using that as an opportunity.
Superintendent Magus?
No, I just want to say thank you to our school resource officers, as well as Sergeant Jamber for all the work that you do, and you've been very, very helpful and comprehensive in thinking about the administration, our principals, our director of secondary, and our assistant superintendent who have worked for years to think about our relationship with the school resource officers and the school resource officers' relationship with our students and families from a continuous improvement perspective. You can see from the data that there have been really, really significant changes over the years. And I think it's more than just the numbers. It's the qualitative feeling that you get, as Mr. Flaw pointed out, that there's a very different feel these days. And I think it's important to note that that's based on a lot of hard work. And I also appreciate the board's perspective that we want to make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable, because we've had throughout the nation, different history of difference in outcomes for kids. And so when we're asking hard questions and when we're looking at this deeply, it's because we want to make sure that we go the extra mile to do things not just good, but great. And I appreciate the work being done by everyone.
Thank you. And I would be remiss not to also add on to the thanks. Thank you for your continued partnership, because John hit on all of the key points, because it makes a difference for our students and our staff. All along when, this became something that was a focus priority for the district through the board, we've been slowly but surely making a lot of progress, and there's evidence to show that we're making a difference in the number of citations students are given, more importantly, the relationships that are being built, and just making sure that everyone feels safe and feels, in good stance with all of our officers and how we work with our students and support them. So thank you for everything. And I really like hearing, Member Lowfold, like you said, that if there's some recognition, throughout the state on how we approach partnering with our police department, I mean, that's really encouraging as well. So thank you. Thank you, everyone.
One last quick question.
Member Williams?
Sorry, is there an officer that at least visits ALC?
Yeah, so we have a contract with an outside agency, a security firm, and so that's been established for the ALC.
Thank you.
He's been with them for
I thought
like
I
2 years
remembered
now,
that.
so
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
And that person also focuses a lot on building meaningful, deep relationships with students, to the point that I know I've interacted with him many times, and he shared that he had offers to go to other assignments and to take other even promotions, and he says he won't do it because he really enjoys being a part of the ALC AEO family. So. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you, Director Larver. Next up, we have our very own Superintendent Magus. He will provide information related to our vision card. And I'll turn it over to Superintendent Magus.
We're taking a quick 2-minute break, everyone. I think we're ready to come back.
Thank you, President Chairwoman Dr. Eder. Ready? Great. Before I begin, I just want to contextualize things a little bit. When we had put this on the calendar, we are working on our vision card. We've had an extremely busy start to the school year, and so there are some things that basically this is just a sort of an opportunity to contextualize some work that we're finishing. The vision card is not ready for full sharing, so I want to lower expectations just a little bit, but I want to explain what a vision card is and why we're putting one together and how it fits within our strategic roadmap in just a few short slides. So I know this is always part of our presentation when I do my superintendent update, but part of our strategic roadmap work was to work with the board and work with the community to put together our mission, our vision, and our values. So that is really what we ground ourselves in and on related to our work. And then our strategic roadmap, as you know, has 3 focus areas, which is supporting every student, advancing equity, and improving systems. So where does the vision card fit in with the work we do? And this is really important graphic that Teamworks shares. We have our 3-year operational plan, which I'll share some views of that momentarily, but really that's the core of everything we do. And then surrounding that, we have our strategic roadmap, which is what we just showed with the strategic directions, the core, the mission, vision, and core values, our desired daily experience of our students, staff, and families. And then we also, as part of that, did a strengths and needs assessment and an environmental scan. And we also worked with the legislature. But really, that vision card is really about the measures and metrics that we're going to use to show whether or not we're making progress on the plan. So really thinking about how are we identifying our key performance indicators as a district, and what does that look like externally, and what does that look like internally? And then really thinking about how does that fit in with work we're doing. We have our board plan, the 3-year governance plan, as well as how we are supporting people through professional learning. And really, all that is also part of our theory of action, that if we have a strong strategic roadmap and if we focus on these things, that we'll have better outcomes for our students. So as we go into that, we also have our action cards. Our action cards are kind of like the bigger rocks of work that we do and focus on as a district. The action cards provide a high-level overview of the key district efforts as we work towards all 3 focus areas, and I'll share more on the action cards next month. But again, the action cards don't represent all the work. It's just kind of what are the biggest pieces of work that we're focused on. Like, for instance, one of our action cards is focused on the implementation of our multi-tiered systems of support framework. That is a huge piece of work that we have as a district. It focuses on what we do universally for all students. It focuses on what we do when students struggle. And so that needs to be conceptualized as a larger piece of work there. And then I'm going to quickly show you, you've seen this before, but I think it's important to share periodically the video we have on our strategic plan, which lays out that roadmap for us. So let me just pull that up. Because it's been a while, and since we worked really hard on putting the video together, it's worth seeing a couple times. Located on the far western shore of Lake Superior. Except it's not casting. 1 second. I think that was me, not anybody else. Here we go. Fingers crossed. Located on the far western shore of Lake Superior, the Duluth Public Schools serves over 8,000 students in 18 schools and employs more than 1,500 staff members, ranging from teachers to support personnel. Here, we're committed to providing high-quality education to all students. Over the last year, we worked with school staff, families, students, and community members to create an updated 3-year strategic roadmap. The school board approved plan lays out our goals as a district and how we plan to get there, with your help.
It all starts with the district supporting every student. We want to improve instructional practices to best meet the needs of all of our learners. We'll tap into the multi-tier system to find strategies to create positive learning environments. Students will get extra support to grow and improve through intervention and enrichment.
We want Duluth Public Schools to be a place where everyone feels a sense of belonging and accomplishment. It starts with strengthening relationships and building trust with all communities. To get there, we're creating an equity implementation and accountability plan to increase our ability to think, behave, work, and lead with an equity mindset. As part of the plan, all staff will receive ongoing diversity, equity, and inclusion training.
We're also improving our systems and processes, resource allocation, and support services. Our school district is focused on finding and hiring highly effective and dedicated staff to educate, support, and inspire our students to reach their full potential. We'll also create a district budget that keeps our students as the top priority, and we will utilize a financial forecasting model to assist the district to plan and forecast the district's financial future.
Finally, we're committed to providing clean, safe environments for children and creating physical settings that are right for learning. We invite you to learn more about our strategic roadmap and the role you can play in helping us get there. Visit our website to learn more. So I just wanted to share that again because we have we worked really hard on that as a district, and it's it still is part of what we are focused on. Our 3 core areas are integral to what we do, and like many other organizations, we when we think. Sorry, I'm just going to recast the next slide. So anyway, the 3 areas of supporting every student, advancing equity, and improving systems are really at the core of the work that you've been focused on as a district, as our board, through the governance plan, through the budgets you've provided, through the resources you've allocated, and I just wanted to reshare that as part of what we're focused on. But really, the 3-year operational plan that we've been working on is you can find that linked in your piece there. You can click into it, but I can cast it for just a second. Sorry for the back and forth with casting. Sometimes it's a bit of a pain. Sorry, and we've got that image there, but you can see here the different areas that we have laid out that we focused on as a district. We have many, many different items under supporting every student. It's not just one thing. We're focused on family and community engagement. We're focused on MTSS, as I mentioned, talking about infrastructure for supporting improvement. What are we doing for assessment? What are we doing for database decision-making? Then what are we also focused on under advancing equity? Mr. Assistant Superintendent Bonds shared or introduced Mr. Smith, our Director of Community Education. We also have somebody coming on board as our new Director of Advancing Equity. So we're deeply committed to allocating our resources to advancing equity. And then what are we doing to improve systems? And I think we talked about, we oftentimes talk about the work that Executive Director Zunich is doing in improving systems with their budgeting and forecasting of information there, and also thinking about Director Severance, who is departing our district for other things. She's done so much to improve systems for our school district. So it's important that we're considering those bigger bodies of work, and you see what that looks like on an ongoing basis. So there's a lot of improvement that you're seeing there over time, but let me just, sorry, sometimes navigating between screens takes a sec.
And while he's doing that, Superintendent meant to say Nate Chapman
What did I
is
say?
the Director of,
Did I say Nate Smith?
is the Director of Community Education.
Former. We had a Nate Smith recently, sorry. I certainly meant to say Nate Chapman.
Of course.
All right. That's okay. Yes, it has been. All right. So that is our continuing 3-year operational plan. Many different districts, especially districts that have worked with Teamworks, even though they have a 3-year operational plan, they don't go back and redo the strategic roadmap. The roadmap is kind of the core. We've decided that's the core of what we're focused on. It's not like we've achieved everything that we hope to as far as what we want for desired daily experience for all of our students, family, and staff. So really, some of the things that we've been focused on, we'll focus on probably for most of the rest of our careers, whether it's how can we better improve literacy practices? How can we better improve graduation rates? Those are things that are perennial and need to be focused on again and again over time. But the vision card, this is a draft of what we're putting together, focuses on 4 different areas. How are we measuring the overall achievement of our students? And that's going to focus on kindergarten readiness, MCAs in reading and math, as well as our on-track to graduate scores and our FastBridge growth scores. We'll also be focusing on our graduation rates, which are important. Graduation rates are something that the public looks at very, very clearly, but in many ways, our graduation rates are, they are more of a lagging indicator, meaning that once our graduation rates have happened or not happened, it's kind of too late. The students have either gone through the system and graduated on time, or they didn't. And so even though it's an important score, we are not weighing that quite as heavily as some of the other scores because that is a lagging indicator. And then how are we also measuring our desired daily experiences? And we have some survey work that we're doing related on that. We're focusing on the desired daily experience statements and what we do in our annual district climate survey. So we're linking that data there. And then we also are focused on our operational measures. So looking at the different things that we have related to financial health, operational efficiency, what we're doing with human resources, how our enrollment is going, and also focusing on making sure that we're in compliance with different risk management and other things. So basically, we're setting up rubrics that measure all of this, and then we are giving a weighted score for each of those areas, as you see on the second to the left column. The weighted score for achievement is 30%. Graduation rate will be 10%. Desired daily experiences is another heavy point, and we want to make sure that that is measured with 30%. And then also the operational measures, because school districts are not just about the student outcomes, but what are we also doing to make sure that we're improving the systems so that we can better care for our students. When we think about transportation systems, for instance, and making sure our students are routed, that is all part of the vision card. Now, I'm not showing you all this is kind of the hood of what this will look like. This shows, or the dashboard, so to speak, it was probably a better term. This is a dashboard of our key performance indicators that we're working to finish. I wish it were finished today. It's nearly done, but unfortunately, because of some of the busy things we've had with a lot going on, our last extended cabinet meeting we needed to postpone that because we're over supporting Laura MacArthur when things were going on there. So that was something that we postponed. But I look forward to bringing this back to the board. But I wanted you to know that we are working on the dashboard and that it fits with our strategic plan. It's linked to our desired daily outcomes as well as our student outcomes for our staff. And so that is just basically where we are in that work. And I just wanted to share that as an update. Again, I mentioned that we are going to be having a high-level overview of our action cards in the near future, as well as reports, I believe, that next month from our principals on their school improvement plans and what they're doing to link the work being done by the continuous improvement teams to the strategic plan next month. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So just kind of a high-level flyover of where we are as a district with our strategic planning as well as where the vision card fits in.
Member Sadowski?
I hadn't quite pressed my light, but you saw my finger on the button there. I liked your analogy of, this is the dashboard. It's interesting to get this presentation here at the Committee of the Whole when we get to see under the hood at this meeting every if that's the right expression, if we can continue with the car. We get to, hear and see and hear from our staff about a lot of the different initiatives and programs and data-driven ways that we're trying to support students very specifically, whether it's, within just not just, but the Spanish immersion program specifically today. So it's interesting, getting this update here at the Committee of the Whole when we get all those updates. And I've been thinking a lot lately just about our increase in graduation rates across all student groups. And really, we get a lot of questions about that, in the community, like, why is that? And I always say I can't really personally put a finger on one thing that would have done that. But the fact that we're being so thoughtful about tying our vision card into our strategic plan, into all the things that trickle down here at the Committee of the Whole, I think, that's what's really driving that. So appreciate the update. Thank you.
Thanks, and I would also say, graduation rates, they are very, very important to us, and at the same time, we can't always guarantee that our graduation rates will always go up. I certainly hope so, and we make it our life's work day in and day out to make sure that we're doing everything possible to keep those things moving in the right direction, but there are so many different factors that affect it. That's why we want to make sure that we're looking at a variety of measures and not just graduation rate, and really appreciate that.
Yep, good point. Thank you.
Seeing no additional lights, that concludes our COW presentations for today.
Thank you.